Welcome, age of vintage society. Princess Diana had a great royal drama life filled with betrayals, loneliness, and of course, spies. She plunged into the politically vicious world of the royal family and was utterly consumed by it. Why was Princess Diana a problem for the royal family? As you all know how much I appreciate you, my viewers, so I want to thank you for your generous comments and for the Patreons. This video would not have been possible without you, and thanks to those who watched the video right to the end. Monarchy. It gives off a feeling of elegance, grace, power and contentment. Most people idolize monarchs, but they forget one important thing. In the end, monarchs and their families are human beings, and they feel every emotion regular people feel, including jealousy. Yes, monarchs get jealous, especially when someone begins to outshine them. Queen Elizabeth reportedly had a tense relationship because Diana was outshining her. At least that's what it looked like. The late Queen was stoic to the core and never revealed much of her feelings about the matter. There are tidbits, but nothing so concrete. However, lips can be sealed, but actions and body language can still be read like a book. Prince Charles, Diana's husband, was also reportedly jealous. The pair weren't meant to be, and their marriage was more to uphold custom than due to love. Prince Charles was very much in love with someone else, but steeped in tradition as she was, the late Queen Elizabeth and the rest of the royal family rejected Prince Charles' lover, Camilla Parker Bowles. Even the royal family had drama, and that drama was magnified in royal proportions. A classic tale of Hollywood high school romance. Boy loved girl, but can't be with girl because his family said no. Charles was a bit of a playboy who had formed relationships with different women. There was a brief relationship with Sarah, Diana's older sister, before he met Diana. However, the woman who stuck around the most was Camilla, and with whom he had an on-and-off relationship. With his family not in support and favouring the aristocratic Diana, Charles had no choice but to yield to their pressure and marry Diana, who he only met 13 times and courted briefly. Instead of love, Charles only thought about his bride as a jolly girl. The Queen, known for stoicism, was reported to be excited when Charles proposed to Diana. However, Charles wasn't happy, as his heart still yearned for his Camilla. Camilla had married, and Charles too, to Diana. Still, Camilla was on his mind. It didn't help that Diana began to outshine him. Diana's public acceptance further drove them apart because Charles got jealous and began to think of ways to get back at his wife for something that wasn't her fault. He rubbed his feelings for Camilla in Diana's face as humiliatingly as possible. The most prominent of this public humiliation was during a royal family event. It was a reception on the HMS Britannia, which was on the River Thames. As Princess Diana and Prince Charles left the Britannia, Charles saw Camilla in the crowd, left the royal procession and went to hug her. Diana watched on, powerless. It wouldn't be the last time such embarrassment would happen. The next was when the couple took a trip to Egypt as the representatives of Britain. Charles abandoned Diana and went off on another trip to Turkey to visit an archaeological dig site. Knowing what Charles was capable of, his wife knew there would be digging going on, but none of it would be archaeological. So she fought back, turning the media that so much adored her into a potent weapon. Diana began to take pictures of herself alone, making people ask questions as to why she was alone on the trip she and her husband were supposed to be together on. It was precisely her dalliance with the media that soured the relationship between Diana and the Queen. It went from bad to worse for her in the blink of an eye. "I introduced them. I'm Cupid," Sarah Spencer, Diana's older sister, said, dooming her younger sister to a life where she felt alone. Princess Diana was born Diana Spencer to a family that had great ties to the royal family. Her two grandmothers were the ladies-in-waiting to the Queen Mother, and her father served as King George's attendant. Being born to a family closely tied to the royal family had its perks. The family lived in Park House, which was on the monarchy's Sandringham estate in Norfolk. There she played with the Queen's younger sons, who were around her age. She remained at Park House even when her parents divorced when she was 7. The divorce was a messy one, and the custody battle that followed was even messier. However, her dad won custody of her and her siblings. That divorce traumatized her as it condemned her to a life without a mother figure. Diana didn't like her stepmother one bit. The two had a vicious and emotionally unfulfilling relationship. Despite her frosty relationship with her father's second wife, Diana tried to live life and have fun. She was fascinated by the arts, ballet precisely, and longed to be one. However, her 5'10" height killed those dreams. She found comfort in her swimming abilities. She was so good at it that she created a signature move that awed everyone that saw it. Her father became Earl, and that meant a new estate to move to Althorn to live in the Spencer estate. It was there that she had her first contact with Prince Charles, who was more than 12 years older than her. The peppy Diana left a lingering impression on the prince, and who was attracted to her boundless energy. Charles didn't see Diana as more than the energetic young lady he met, but other members of the royal family saw potential. So, in a few years, Charles and Diana began dating due to the matchmaking efforts of the Queen Mother, and with the blessings of the Queen herself. Diana was invited to Balmoral, which was a loaded visit. It was to test if she was traditional enough to marry into the royal family. She wasn't traditional. She was, in every sense of the word, a modern woman. She liked pop music, loved to dance, and was used to frenetic city life. But do you know what she did when she went to Balmoral? She faked being the perfect traditional woman. She fooled everybody, and instantly everyone was certain that she would be Charles's wife, except for Charles himself. The Queen was sure that Diana was better than her son's preference, Camilla. She showed incredible poise when handling the media that swarmed around her. Still, Charles was unsure if he wanted to proceed. The Queen would have none of it. Pressuring her son, the then head of the British monarchy, said, "The idea of this romance going on for another year is intolerable to everyone concerned." Like that, Charles proposed. Anything to make Mother Dearest happy. Charles stomached his hurt. He didn't even know Diana deeply. They mostly had correspondences over the phone and met just about a dozen times. Charles' reluctance showed in the proposal. When the couple was asked the question of if they were in love or not, Diana, who felt the question was an odd one, responded, "Yes, of course we are." Then her soon-to-be husband unnecessarily chipped in, "Whatever love means." That response was enough to send chills in the bones of members of the family who heard it. But that didn't matter. The royals had a wedding to plan. They went all out planning the wedding. The bride's gown cost hundreds of thousands, and the viewers of her wedding reached 750 million worldwide. Diana became a member of the royal family. It was more than she bargained for. She realized that she couldn't fake this one, and there wasn't any help coming from anyone. She felt the Queen cold and distant. She had no idea how to handle the Queen. When she first married, she almost crapped herself when she met the Queen and was mostly formal. She even worked on avoiding the Queen actively. She was that terrified of the former head of the British monarchy. The Queen was already used to this kind of treatment. She was a stoic woman, as most monarchs are. She isn't used to providing company for someone, and certainly not Diana, who the monarchical head felt couldn't handle anything. The head of the monarchy began to send Diana on royal errands. She was certain her daughter-in-law had the strength to handle these events. Diana went to Monaco as the British representative at the funeral of Princess Grace of Monaco. Then, subsequently, when she got back, she got bolder and began to ask for more responsibility. The head of the British monarchy was more than pleased to give her more roles. "If you want to do this, you can," the Queen would say. The Queen was right about the potential that she had. The princess was different from the other members of the royal family. She didn't have the classist instincts that other royals had. She mingled among the common people well, and she was loved for it. The love people had for her crossed the shores of Britain. Pity she was receiving none of that love at home. Her husband was distant from her, and was a constant source of snide remarks. One such remark led Diana developing bulimia. During one Christmas they spent together, Prince Charles cupped a feel of his wife's waist and said, "A bit chubby here, aren't we?" Their marriage began to suffer. Charles had somehow found his way to Camilla. His wife was at home, romance-starved and alone. As Diana would later reveal, she and Prince Charles would only have sex once in a few weeks. Charles' renewed relationship with Camilla became so prominent that Diana had to go confront Camilla at a party. Cornering Camilla, Diana asked the woman what the nature of her husband's relationship was with her. Camilla didn't say what it was, but the way she responded told Diana all she needed to know. Rather than address issues, Camilla told her she had all the men she would ever want, and asked what else she wanted. She calmly replied that she wanted her husband. She didn't get her husband. The rift between the two began to widen. The brief moments of happiness when they had their boys became eclipsed by Charles resenting his wife for being so graceful with the public. According to insiders, the Queen also resented her daughter-in-law for her choices in her charitable endeavours, and how she was pretending. The truth allegedly was, behind the camera, Diana was a frightened woman, with numerous insecurities, not the strong woman she portrayed herself to be. She needed a mum, and the Queen wasn't ready to be her mum. Even during the dispute between her and her husband, the monarchical head corresponded with the squabbling couples with letters. The Queen managed to be distant even when she was involved. Diana went to meet the Queen for physical help. The Queen replied that she didn't know how she was going to help her. The Queen had come to see her as a crybaby. Insider information revealed that she had become an emotional mess who was often found crying. The Queen, who was often accommodating, had become tired of seeing her daughter-in-law cry all the time. The Princess was crying for help. As she later revealed, her bulimia was also a cry for help, but she was met with silence. With help not coming, things took a much darker turn. Death became attractive to the Princess. The Queen wouldn't approve of a divorce, but the situation soon changed. Diana, always the media darling, wanted to grant an interview. Although it was later revealed that she was manipulated into giving that interview, manipulated or not, the interview was damning, and she more or less threw the royal family under the bus. She did spare the Queen from criticism. The royal family was aghast. They were not used to having their affairs in the limelight, and there in the public everything was. The Queen, who took a non-interference stance in how Charles and Diana managed their relationship, was forced to intervene with more than letters. The Queen hated divorce. She wouldn't support her sister in her marrying a divorcee, but she was forced to reconsider her stance with Diana and her son. Queen Elizabeth told her son and his wife to part ways, which the two did. In another move to humiliate his wife, Charles rejected the Queen's plea that he should let Diana retain her title. You would think the drama was over. It wasn't. It only had just begun. Enter the Spies. Yes, there were spies, the James Bond type. At least that was what Diana felt, and she might not have been wrong. She was sure that someone was watching her. She believed cameras hung around her house, and her staff were undercover agents for those watching her. She couldn't even talk to her friends normally over the phone. She had to devise a code for speaking that only she and her friends understood. "Somebody wants to hurt me," she told one of her friends over the phone. She felt she was being followed by an inexperienced spy. She was right. She was being spied on. However, details about the spying only emerged after her death. In the end, the Princess died in a car crash while she was out on a drive with her new love interest, Dodi Fayed. Investigation revealed that the driver was drunk at the time he drove the couple to their death. But the people were not convinced. They felt there was foul play. They did remember the issue of Diana claiming she was being spied on. America was spying on her, NSA, CIA, and FBI, a clandestine trinity of America's finest. But it was not what you think. At least that's what these agencies claim. The FBI's files on the Princess looked protective of her. The highlight of the intel they had on Diana was when she was visiting New York, where some elements were preparing a demonstration against the Princess at the time. There was also a man who boasted about sending a parcel bomb to Diana as a gift on her wedding day. When the Bureau picked the man, he changed the tone of what he initially said and claimed he was joking. After the initial denial of having anything on Diana turned out the NSA did. The agency had denied a Freedom of Information application with a 2-page letter. The agency revealed that revealing the information they had about Diana would cause a national security problem. Later, a journalist claimed that the NSA didn't have any damning files on Diana. Honestly, what are we to believe? If anything, the NSA has successfully confused people on whether or not they had intel on Diana in their archives. Dodi Fayed's father filed a suit against the CIA, asking that they reveal the information they knew about his son's accident along with his lover. The CIA only revealed what was general knowledge. The intelligence agency refused to acknowledge if they had any more information. What a mess! Diana's death shook the country and almost divided it. The people mourned her and were angry at the royal family. They were especially angry at the Queen, who remained stoic. They felt she didn't care about Diana. What people didn't know was, after Diana's death, the head of the monarchy went straight to her children to comfort them. William, when he grew up, said, "At the time, you know, my grandmother wanted to protect her 2 grandsons, and my father as well." William also said the Queen shielded him and his brother from unnecessary media probing. Privately, the Queen was devastated by Diana's passing, and it showed in a letter she wrote to an aide. The Queen later spoke to the country about Diana's death, and she bowed slightly to her coffin when she walked past it during the funeral. Diana's death changed the Queen in some ways. The woman stopped being a recluse for the most part and made occasional media appearances. Elizabeth became spontaneous and more fun. Pity it took death to make her loosen up a bit. If someone was deemed to be a problem by the powerful ones, their fate was sealed. That's the way it went elsewhere. Is Bobby Kennedy behind Marilyn Monroe's death? Let's find out.